Hey ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are doing amazing today. So my son asked me, I asked him, what do you want to create? Like, what do you want to make, right? And he was like, poopy. And so we created a poopy. Anyways, and he wrote smelly poopy, right? And it's cute, it's really cute. Anyway, so of course I drew this, and then he just he colored it and he put all these things on it. So it's cute. But anyways, this drawing ties in with the topic that I'm gonna discuss. Okay, it's a dressed up poopy, right? But a poopy is still a poopy, okay? Even if it's dressed up, okay? So uh, what going to discuss in this video is a narcissist, okay? A narcissist is a dressed up poopy, basically, okay? Underneath a narcissist, okay, is nothing but pure hatred and unhealed trauma, basically, okay? And it's someone that's extremely dangerous, extremely toxic, and even possessed, okay, in most cases, okay? So if you're including spirituality, these people are possessed, okay? And they're basically demons, okay? They're demons, and demons are wicked. They're wicked. They will do anything for their reputation. They will throw you under the bus. They will target individuals that carry the light. They will try to copy them, and they will try to destroy them, okay? They will try to get into a relationship with them. They will suck them dry, okay? If it's a woman, she will target you and she will suck you dry. She will take all of your money. She will take everything that you have, all of your energy, and she will probably have multiple men, okay? She's not going to be just with one man. She's not loyal, just like the guy. Guys are not loyal. Guy narcissists are not loyal. They don't care about you, okay? They care about what you have, what you represent. If you have some kind of a status, they care about that. They don't care about the person underneath what kind of a person you are, okay? They just care about the status, they care about the money, they care about the resources that you have, and so on, right? So basically, they're poopies, even if they are dressed up, and which they will be, okay? So you have to really you have to be careful who you get involved with, and so, but this video is about um, what can you do, right? If you already are involved with a narcissist, or if you have spotted one, if you have realized that you're dealing with a narcissist, how do you handle them? Well, the best way to handle them, okay, is to not engage, okay, and to give them as little of your emotional energy as possible. Okay, so because at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want your energy, okay? And the way that they get it is by creating drama around you, is by trying to provoke you, poke you with a stick, trying to say mean things to you, trying to get you to react basically in an emotional way. This way you get out of character. This way you explode. This way, you know. This way you basically become the villain, okay? They want you to become the villain. And they usually try to attach to someone who is much more powerful than them, especially spiritually speaking. So they're after someone who has the light, they hate everything that you stand for, but at the same time they want to be you, which is a contradiction, of course, right? But these people or entities, they're not even people anymore. Um, they want to destroy you. They want to destroy your inner light, and they want to steal your destiny. They want to swap destinies with you. Okay, and so, but they hate you at the same time. Okay, so in a relationship with them, okay, in the beginning, they're going to mirror you. They're going to study you, first of all. Their obsession is going to run very deep, and so they're going to become extremely obsessed, and those initial stages, right? And they're going to be so obsessed, they're going to study everything about you. They're going to try to figure you out, okay? And then they're going to mirror you, okay? So they're going to mirror you back to yourself. Okay, so and that's a huge problem, right? Because if you're not aware of this, you're going to fall for the narcissist, and what you, in actuality, what you felt ended up falling for is yourself, right? And so that's kind of like the, that's the irony of this, right? And it's really crazy because, yeah, like I said, they study you and they're going to mirror you back and to yourself, and you're going to think, wow, I finally met my soulmate. This person is just like me, this person is amazing, and I can't believe I found my match and someone that really understands me. But in actuality, they don't understand you. Uh, they are surface dwellers, and they cannot possibly comprehend someone who is extremely deep, because they don't dive deep themselves, so everything with them is going to be very superficial, okay? And sooner or later you will understand this too, you will notice this, okay? Just because, and don't mistake in this for an obsession with one particular topic. They might become very obsessed with one particular topic, or they might be very good at something, right? Like physics, let's just say, right? So they might understand this really, really well, but at the end of the day, they're not well rounded. They're not, in a sense, they're not intelligent. They do not possess um a well-roundedness of various types of intelligences, right? And there are like nine of them or so, right? They usually just they're good at one thing, and in a sense they're very narrow-minded, so um, but back to the narcissist, right? So once you fall for them, of course it's going to be very hard to get out, right? Because once they have you hooked also, you know uh, the switch, you will realize that the switch is gonna turn on, okay? The switch is very scary because it's when women complain that, or they get a surprise. Like, let's just say they had a wedding, right? It doesn't have to be a wedding, right? But there's a moment when the narcissist feels comfortable enough to show you their demonic self, okay? And that's the switch. That's when the mask will come off, right? Or the switch will turn on, and something shocking will be said or done, And you'll be like, whoa, like, who is this person? Um, they will say something very outrageous to you. They will say something very demeaning, or they will put you down in some way, or they will explode and show you their rage, right? But something will be done, basically. I remember this happening with my the guy we ended up living with, right? When my mom went to America, right? There was a guy in the family who's extremely abusive, definitely a psychopath or a narc, right? And yeah, he switched. I remember he switched, like his switch ended up like flipping, right, or turning on in the forest while we were walking. And I was just shocked as a kid because before that he seemed like such a nice guy, right? And so he had his mask on, and eventually they feel comfortable enough. And usually in love relationships, it's when you fall for them, okay? So they know, they can sense when you fall for them, okay? And so that's when the switch flips, okay? And that's very scary because they'll show you their demonic side. They'll show you who they really are, But anyways, but to go back to when you discover that they are a narcissist, right, or a psychopath. Once again, they're going to get really, really bored if you gray rock them, okay? So if you're going to be extremely boring, if you start just if you stop giving them the emotional energy that they're after, right? So they might start complaining about something. They might, fish for compliments, right? They might explode at you in hopes that you explode back, right? They might, make comments about your body in hopes that you would get upset, right? And so they're always looking for emotional reactions. And once again, these entities, they feed on and negative energy, So that's what they prefer, And so don't give them that. That's your weapon. That's your greatest weapon. In fact, give them the opposite reaction, you know? If you give them the opposite reaction, you will probably piss them off, okay? But it will be kind of funny in a sense, you know? Um, it's like if they're hoping that you will cry, like laugh, you know? And this, I mean, I'm not like, I'm not, actually, I'm not suggesting that you play their games. Actually, it's probably not good, okay? You don't want to play games with them, right? But if you want to piss a narcissist off, you give them the opposite reaction, you know? But of course, that's not going to be genuine, right? And once again, that means you're going to play their games, right? Guys, collectively speaking, okay? If you want to avoid a narcissist, or if you want to make the narcissist lose their power, right? Even collectively speaking, in the grand scheme of things as a whole, right? Um, Even with our leaders, for example, okay? If, for example, they implemented some stupid ass rules, right? A rule or rules, right? That perhaps impeached on our liberty, right? Uh, then, if collectively we, for example, refuse to play their games, or we refuse to participate, right? Then they would lose. They wouldn't be able to do anything because we overpower them. Like, there are too many people, okay? So they can't do squat if all of us were to just collectively decide that we weren't going to, like, for example, wear masks, okay? That's just an example, right? But that can be done with anything, you know. For example, in the future, right? And in Europe, they're hoping to implement. They're hoping to roll out CBDCs, right? The central banking digital currency, right? And that's going to, guys, this is like slavery, okay? You don't want for this to happen. I'm going to make a separate video on that, okay? But they're hoping to make this reality in Europe, okay, by the end of this year. And that's extremely scary. We don't want for this to happen because they're going to track every single transaction, okay? They're going to punish you for the things that, you don't want to do or that you refuse to do. They're just gonna, you're gonna have money just get taken out of your account if they so decide to do this, right? They're already able to freeze people's bank accounts if they want to. And we've seen this during like freedom convoys, right, in Canada. So yeah, guys, uh, collectively, if we refuse to participate in those stupid, you know, programs that they try to implement, right? Then they will lose, okay? Of course, they're going to try to, like, when it comes to CBDCs, right? They're going to try to use all kinds of incentives in the beginning, right? They're going to try to package this in a beautiful package, right? They might offer incentives, they might give you some money, right? So you enroll in this, right? And it's probably going to be optional in the beginning, right? It's like the boiling frog, right? Um, so they're going to try to boil you slowly, okay? But yeah, at the end of the day, okay, guys, and later on they're going to try to make this universal. They're going to make it global, okay? But once again, guys, if we collectively decide to not participate, right, then they can't do squat about this, okay? They can't do anything, okay? That's why every single one of us, we need to wise up, right? To narcissists, to psychopaths, to the people that are out there that are not like us, okay? They don't have our best interest at heart, and they're only after control, and they're only, you know, they're greedy, as heck, right? I believe only like 7 or 8 people own more wealth, more money than every single one of us on this planet, okay? And that's pretty crazy because like, how much do you need, how much do you need? Like, think of the, like, anyways, but I'm getting off tangent here, right? Once again, right, don't engage. If you engage with a narcissist, if you give them that reaction, if you give them the emotional power, right, if you react in any way, then you're going to give them what they want. The key is to not engage. The key is to pretend like they're not there. The key is to be like, you know, okay. Yeah, sure, you know? Just be boring. Just be as boring as possible. So if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, if you have a boss that's narcissistic, right? If you, I don't know, you know, some of us have these people in our lives, right? And we can't really, maybe perhaps we're in a situation where we can't really, you know, get away from that situation at that time, right? So in this case, just don't engage. Give them as little energy as possible. Eventually they'll become so bored they'll run away from you, you know, because they need that supply, they need that energy. If they're not getting it from you, right, then they're not going to survive. You know, so they need another source. Okay, and so yeah, don't be that source. Refuse to play games with them, and eventually they'll leave you alone, you know, to look for another source. Okay, and once again, it's the emotional reactions that they're after, and oftentimes like the negative ones, right? So if they're creating or spreading lies about you, right, it's best not to do anything. Let God take care of this. Okay, eventually this you know, and I made this video like a long time ago, right? And I told you guys a story about you know, a boy, right, and his mom. And the boy lied to her, but eventually the lie came to the surface, right? And so now a lot of lies are being exposed, right? And guys, more of us are speaking the truth because we're realizing that lying is not getting us anywhere. Okay, it's just keeping us stuck in slavery and bondage, miserable, right? And so people are realizing that the truth really does set you free. Okay, but anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.